There is a moment, a fleeting, almost invisible fraction of a second when someone calls you out, questions your integrity, or attacks your very essence. In that split second, most people do the exact same thing. They defend themselves. That's not what I meant. You misunderstood me. I swear I'm not like that. It feels natural, even necessary to explain, to clarify, to justify. But here lies the harsh and unsettling truth. The moment you open your mouth to defend yourself, you lose. Not just a little, you surrender power handed over willingly. Because defending is an admission of weakness. It signals to the world that you need permission to exist as you are. It confirms their right to judge, to accuse, to define your worth. In the ruthless arena of power and influence, perception is everything. Those who flinch are not seen as victims. They become prey. The most dangerous lesson Machiavelli taught us is that the man who defends himself lowers himself. The one who refuses to react forces others to defend him instead. Imagine for a moment the most powerful people you've ever met, not the loudest, not the flashiest, but those who command a presence so strong it silences a room. They're secret. They wield silence like a weapon. They make you doubt your own words simply by the calmness of their gaze. When attacked, they do not flinch, do not explain, and certainly do not defend. They understand that power is not about being understood or justified. It is about control, mystery, and fear. And in that silence, an invisible battle is won. The accuser is left exposed, doubting themselves, while the silent figure grows stronger, untouchable, and unbreakable. This is not just strategy. It is a transformation of identity. To defend is to submit. To remain silent is to conquer. And mastering this moment is the first step toward true, unshakable power. The instinct to defend oneself when accused or attacked is deeply ingrained in human nature. It feels like a natural reaction to explain, clarify, and prove our innocence. But what if I told you that every time you step up to justify yourself, you are actually handing over your power to someone else? This is the brutal reality that most people fail to see. Defending yourself is the fastest route to losing control and authority. When you rush to defend, you willingly enter your opponent's battlefield. You accept their terms, their narrative, and their frame of reference. By doing so, you acknowledge their right to judge and question you. This admission, even if unspoken, weakens your position profoundly. The world does not see your defense as strength. It sees it as vulnerability. You transform from a commanding figure into someone pleading for approval. And in the ruthless games of power, approval is a currency reserved only for the weak. Logic and reason, the very tools we rely on to make our case, are often powerless in this psychological war. The battlefield is not won by facts alone, but by perception and emotion. Defending yourself with explanations feeds into the accuser's hands because it signals that their attack has merit, or at least rattled you. It shifts the focus away from the attacker's intentions to your need for validation. You become trapped in their narrative, losing the ability to define yourself on your own terms. But the heart of the matter goes deeper than strategy. It cuts to the core of human emotion. Explaining yourself arises from a place of fear and insecurity, a desperate need to be understood and accepted. It is a cry for empathy, not a move of strength. The powerful, however, operate from a place of control and detachment. They know that seeking clarity is a luxury for therapy rooms, not for arenas of influence. Power demands control, and control thrives in silence. Imagine the tension when someone launches an accusation and you refuse to engage, refusing to justify. The accuser expects a fight, a reaction, a defense, but instead they are met with cold, unyielding stillness. That stillness is not weakness. It is the sharpest weapon. It forces the accuser to question themselves, to doubt their own words, and to lose their footing. Without your reaction to validate their attack, their power diminishes. This is the paradox of defending yourself. The more you try to prove your innocence, the more guilt you suggest. The more you explain, the more vulnerable you become. The truth is that true power is not in proving your worth. It is in owning it without apology or defense. To defend yourself is to surrender. To hold your silence is to command. The moment you grasp this, you step into a realm of unshakable authority, where your presence alone speaks volumes and your enemies unravel in their own obsession. Silence is one of the most misunderstood forces in the arsenal of power. To the untrained, silence may seem like weakness, avoidance, or even surrender. Yet in the subtle and unforgiving dance of influence, silence is a weapon sharper than any sword or word. It's the art of saying everything without uttering a single sound. The moment you resist the urge to respond, to defend, or to explain, you begin to flip the entire dynamic of power. When someone hurls an accusation or throws shade, the expectation is clear: a reaction, a rebuttal, a defense. But imagine standing utterly still, letting the words hang like ghosts in the air, unanswered and unclaimed. This is the unsettling silence that drives attackers mad. It forces them into a psychological trap where their own words turn into a mirror, reflecting back their insecurities, doubts, and emotional instability. The power of silence lies in the discomfort it creates for others. Humans are wired to seek validation, to fill voids of uncertainty with answers and clarity. When you refuse to supply that clarity, you force the accuser into the uncomfortable position of facing their own shadow. They start questioning not you, but themselves. Did I go too far? Was that accusation fair? Why won't they respond? This self-doubt is the crack in their armor, an opening you don't need to strike. It widens on its own. Even more potent is the strategy of turning accusations into a mirror. When someone calls you cold, arrogant, or manipulative, the natural instinct is to deny or justify. But the truly powerful respond with quiet detachment, if that's how you see it. No defense, no apology, just a calm, almost indifferent acknowledgement that leaves the accuser exposed. Their attempt to control the narrative collapses under the weight of your impenetrable silence. This mirror effect forces them into emotional overdrive, revealing their bitterness, obsession, or insecurity. They become prisoners of their own words, trapped in a cycle of escalation, while you remain untouchable. Your silence does more than protect it, disarms, confuses, and ultimately defeats without a single strike. The silence of the powerful is not passive. It is deliberate and commanding. It signals that you are too composed, too secure, and too far above petty attacks to engage on that level. It is the calm at the center of a storm, the eye where all chaos fades and your presence dominates. By mastering silence, you transform vulnerability into unshakable strength, making your enemies question their own sanity while elevating your own stature in the eyes of others. In this quiet battlefield, words become weapons only when wielded with precision. Otherwise, silence reigns supreme. The truly powerful know this, and they harness it to not only survive attacks, but to turn them into their greatest victories. In every confrontation, in every dispute, the true battleground is not the words spoken, but the frame through which those words are interpreted. The frame is the invisible lens shaping reality, the narrative container that determines what is true, who holds power, and how events are understood. Whoever controls this frame holds the ultimate weapon of influence. Yet this battlefield is subtle, often overlooked by those who rush to defend or explain without awareness. The moment you react, you hand over control of the frame to your attacker. You become trapped inside their narrative, fighting to prove your version of truth on their terms. Imagine a battlefield where the first soldier to shout loses ground simply because he exposed his fear or desperation. Similarly, the first to respond to an attack risks revealing weakness, emotional, psychological, or strategic. The power lies in choosing not to engage in the fight the way your opponent expects. Instead, holding your silence, your calm, and your detachment, you control the frame without uttering a word. You force others to fill the silence, and in their scramble to make sense of the void, they often create a story that favors you without even realizing it. The frame controls the narrative, and the narrative controls perception, and perception is reality. This is the profound lesson that separates the powerful from the powerless. You do not need to convince everyone of your truth. You only need to maintain control over how the story is told. Defending yourself or explaining your actions signals that the frame belongs to someone else. It's a subtle surrender disguised as clarity. The emotional toll of losing control over the frame is immense. When people see you reacting, justifying, or pleading, they sense your insecurity and doubt. Your attackers gain confidence emboldened by the visible cracks in your armor. But when you master the frame, your stillness becomes your fortress. Your refusal to engage is a declaration that you are not bound by their terms. You create an aura of unpredictability and inscrutability, an enigma that demands respect and caution. This is not passive silence, but strategic mastery. It's the difference between being a player on the field and the referee who dictates the rules. The more you resist reacting, the more you shift the focus from yourself to the accuser, making them the ones under scrutiny. They become performers trying to prove their point while you watch calm and unshaken. Mastering the frame means understanding that power isn't won through argument or reason alone. It's won by controlling the stage on which those arguments unfold. It's the invisible architecture behind every interaction, the unseen force that determines who dominates and who submits. Once you grasp this, you step beyond mere survival. You become the author of your own narrative and the master of perception itself. And in a world obsessed with appearances and judgments, that is the greatest power anyone can wield. In the subtle war of influence and power, silence is a potent weapon. But there are moments when pure silence isn't enough. Sometimes the game demands a delicate and masterful counterstrike, a move that doesn't defend, but redirects and transforms the attacker's energy into their own downfall. This is the art of the strategic counterattack, where you don't meet aggression with resistance, but with a calculated redirection so sharp it leaves your opponent off balance and exposed. When someone hurls accusations like "you're manipulative," "you're arrogant," or "you're fake," the average reaction is defensive denial or frantic justification. But the truly powerful understand that such responses only confirm the attacker's frame and feed their narrative. Instead, a single short, sharp phrase delivered with calm confidence can turn the accusation inside out. For example, replying to "you're manipulative" with "only those who can't be influenced say that," or responding to "you're arrogant" with confidence makes some people uncomfortable, doesn't just dismiss the attack. It flips it, making the accuser look insecure and bitter. This is the essence of Machiavellian judo, using your opponent's force against them. You don't block the blade, you redirect it, causing them to stumble on their own momentum. It's a power move that takes minimal effort but maximum effect, sowing confusion in your adversary while reinforcing your dominance. The emotional intensity of the accuser escalates as their attack rebounds. They grow desperate, revealing cracks in their composure as they try to regain footing. Meanwhile, you remain composed, almost amused by their unraveling. This contrast of calm strength against frantic aggression mesmerizes observers and shifts the social dynamic decisively in your favor. But the counterattack is not about winning an argument or silencing critics. It's about reclaiming control of the narrative and preserving your aura of invincibility. It communicates clearly you are untouchable because you refuse to play by their rules. You do not justify, you do not explain. You own your space with sharp precision. The power of this tactic lies not in confrontation, but in subtlety and psychological mastery. It's a dance of influence where every word counts and silence is punctuated by perfectly timed assertions that leave no room for debate. By mastering strategic counterattacks, you not only protect your reputation, but transform attacks into proof of your strength. You make your enemy's words betray their weakness. And in doing so, you elevate yourself beyond mere defense. You become the architect of your own unstoppable narrative, commanding respect, fear, and admiration without ever lowering yourself to fight. The lessons of power and silence aren't confined to distant theory. They live and breathe in the everyday arenas where influence is won or lost. The boardroom, the meeting table, the digital battlefield of social media. Understanding how to apply these principles in real life is what separates the truly powerful from the rest who remain trapped in reactive chaos. Imagine a critical business meeting where a colleague subtly undermines your strategy. Instead of rushing to defend, to clarify every point, or to justify your plan, the powerful lean back. A calm smile, a measured gaze, sometimes a simple challenge like "I'd be interested to hear how you'd approach it," shifts the entire atmosphere. Suddenly, the aggressor must perform under scrutiny, turning the spotlight on their ideas rather than your need to explain. In this moment, silence isn't weakness. It's an unspoken command that you control the room, the narrative, and the outcome. Now shift to the digital arena, where comments, posts, and messages can become weapons of public opinion. When attacked online, the reflex for many is to defend, to clarify, to plead for understanding in a flood of words. But here, too, silence is power. Instead of falling into the trap of lengthy justifications, the truly powerful craft responses that reframe the attack. People often call dangerous individuals toxic when they can't control them. This short, confident assertion does more than respond. It flips the narrative, casting the accuser as bitter and powerless, while you remain unfazed and dominant. These tactics carry profound emotional weight. In both physical and digital spaces, the refusal to defend drains the attacker's energy and confidence. It forces them to expose their desperation, obsession, and insecurity. Meanwhile, your calm detachment radiates strength, commanding respect, and shifting the balance of power without a single aggressive word. This is the essence of mastery: to navigate social and professional conflicts with a quiet authority that unsettles opponents and impresses observers. To become someone whose silence speaks volumes, whose measured words carry weight, and whose presence commands the room or the screen. Every interaction is an opportunity to practice this art. The boardroom, the family dinner, the comment section. They are all stages where silence and strategic responses build your fortress of power. When others expect you to react, your refusal becomes your strongest statement. It's a declaration that you play by different rules, that you are unshakable, and that your power is not dependent on approval or understanding. In mastering these moments, you do more than survive attacks, you transform them into your greatest victories. You elevate yourself beyond mere conflict into a realm where your presence alone shifts realities and where your power becomes undeniable. True power is not loud. It is a quiet force that commands attention without needing to shout. Building an untouchable presence is the pinnacle of influence, a state where your very existence alters the atmosphere, where people hesitate before speaking, not because of fear alone, but because of respect and an unspoken understanding of your authority. This presence is forged not through constant explanation or defense, but through restraint, mystery, and an unwavering calm that radiates strength. When you choose not to defend yourself, you create space for mystery. People fill the gaps left by your silence with their imagination, often attributing qualities far greater than reality. The unknown is terrifying, and humans instinctively assign power to what they cannot comprehend. This aura of enigma acts as a shield, protecting you from direct attacks and rendering many of them futile before they even land. The untouchable presence is also about unpredictability. When you refuse to react predictably, you keep others guessing, uncertain of how to approach or challenge you. This unpredictability breeds caution and respect, qualities that fortify your position and deter opportunistic attacks. Those who try to undermine you are met with an inscrutable calm, a stillness that absorbs and nullifies their efforts. At the core of this presence is the mastery of stillness, the ability to remain composed amid chaos, to hold your ground without flinching or responding impulsively. This stillness becomes armor, a silent proclamation of your inner strength and control. It signals to others that you are not easily shaken, that you operate on a different plane where petty conflicts hold no sway. The emotional power of such presence is profound. People are drawn to those who seem self-possessed, who embody a quiet confidence that is unbreakable. They feel compelled to listen, to follow, to respect. This magnetism is not about dominance through force, but about command through essence. Your aura alone influences the room, shifts the energy, and molds perceptions. Yet building this presence requires discipline and self-awareness. It demands that you relinquish the need for approval, that you embrace being misunderstood, and that you accept silence as a potent language. It is not about withdrawing, but about choosing when and how to engage, ensuring every word and gesture amplifies your power rather than diminishes it. Ultimately, an untouchable presence transcends mere power. It becomes a legacy. It is the mark of those who lead not by argument, but by example, whose strength is measured not by their battles, but by their unyielding calm in the face of them. To build such presence is to become a force of nature, unseen yet undeniable, silent yet commanding, untouchable, yet profoundly influential. Strength is often misunderstood as the ability to fight back, to react, to push through adversity with raw force and passion. Yet there is a higher, far more elusive form of power that transcends the need for reaction, the power of immunity. Immunity is the state where attacks no longer affect you, where provocations bounce off like arrows against a shield so strong it does not even acknowledge their existence. This is the pinnacle of power, the ultimate mastery that separates the truly unshakable from the merely strong. While strength still involves flinching, responding, and sometimes even getting hurt, immunity is a fortress of indifference built on absolute self-mastery. It is not about suppressing emotion, but about transcending the need to engage with it. The immune do not waste energy defending themselves. They exist beyond the fray where attacks lose their meaning and power. Their calm is not weakness. It is an impenetrable armor that radiates confidence so pure it unsettles aggressors before they even strike. Imagine being in a room where accusations fly like daggers, yet you stand untouched, unmoved, silent. Others might scramble to defend themselves, but you simply exist, calm, composed, and above it all. Your presence says your words do not reach me. This silence is deafening. It signals to everyone that you are not to be tested or provoked, for the battle has already been won by refusal to fight. This immunity is a product of relentless discipline, a conscious decision to no longer play the game of proving innocence or defending honor. It is a mindset that embraces the fact that you cannot control what others say or think, only your reaction. The moment you cease to react, you reclaim your power and redefine the terms of engagement. You become a force so commanding that attacks cease not because they are blocked, but because they are irrelevant. The emotional depth of immunity is profound. It demands letting go of the ego's desperate need for validation and stepping into a realm where your worth is unshakable regardless of external opinion. This freedom brings a peace and power few ever experience, and it manifests as an aura so magnetic and intimidating that people instinctively respect fear and follow you. Strength is visible and often noisy. Immunity is silent and mysterious. One can be broken by relentless assault, but the other is untouched, an eternal pillar amidst the storm. Achieving immunity is not the absence of conflict, but the transcendence of it. It is the final evolution of power, a realm where you no longer defend, no longer explain, and no longer live in reaction, but in pure, effortless command. To walk this path is to embody the ultimate truth. The most dangerous person is not the one who attacks first, but the one who never needs to. Immunity is the power of the untouchable, the invincible, and the unstoppable. And once attained, it changes everything. In the relentless theater of power and perception, there exists a profound truth. Your greatest strength lies not in defending who you are, but in defining yourself on your own terms. To live in defense is to react, to explain, to justify actions that unwittingly hand over control to others. But to live in definition is to craft your image, your tone, your silence as an unassailable fortress that no accusation can breach. It is the art of owning your narrative so completely that no external judgment can diminish your authority or unsettle your presence. Every moment you choose silence over explanation, calm over agitation, you reinforce this fortress. You refuse to engage in battles that only serve to validate the attacker's power. Instead, you build a mythology around yourself, a complex, compelling identity that invites curiosity, respect, and sometimes fear. This is not about deception, but mastery over perception, understanding that people see what you allow them to see, and often what you don't reveal speaks louder than what you do. Living in definition means you control the story before others can twist it. When accusations arise, whether public or private, you don't flinch or stumble to justify. Your stillness becomes a statement louder than words, an assertion that your truth needs no defense. People begin to question the validity of the attacks, not because you disproved them, but because your unwavering presence makes doubt inevitable. They sense that beneath the silence lies strength, and uncertainty becomes their greatest weapon. This art requires emotional fortitude. It demands that you relinquish the desperate desire to be understood or liked, embracing instead the power of being unpredictable and even misunderstood. The misunderstood person holds a unique kind of authority, the freedom to move beyond the limits of others' expectations and judgments. Their silence is not absence but presence, a magnetic force field that commands attention without pleading for approval. The emotional journey to this mastery is intense. It means facing fears of rejection, isolation, and misinterpretation, and choosing power over comfort. But the rewards are immeasurable, an identity forged in fire, untouchable by petty criticism, and capable of shaping reality itself. Ultimately, living in definition transforms how the world interacts with you. Enemies hesitate, allies respect, and the crowd listens. You no longer respond to attacks. You exist above them. Your narrative is your shield, your silence a sword. In this elevated state, power becomes effortless because you are no longer defending your name, you are defining your legacy. Master this art, and you become the architect of your fate, the sovereign of your image, and the unshakable force that others can neither break nor ignore. In life, one of the most powerful lessons is learning when to speak, and more importantly, when to stay silent. Defending yourself instinctively may feel natural, but it often weakens your position by handing control of the narrative to others. True strength lies not in constant explanation or justification, but in mastering the art of silence and owning your story without needing approval. When you stop reacting to attacks and instead maintain calm confidence, you force others to question their own words, shifting power in your favor. This principle applies everywhere, from the boardroom to social media, from personal relationships to public confrontations. Instead of rushing to prove yourself, cultivate a presence that commands respect through quiet authority and strategic restraint. Silence becomes your shield. Measured, precise responses become your arrows. By refusing to be drawn into emotional battles, you conserve your energy for meaningful actions that build your legacy. Remember, being misunderstood is better than being predictable, because unpredictability creates caution and respect, while over-explaining signals weakness. Focus on defining yourself through your actions and your calm demeanor, not through endless justifications. This mindset frees you from the need for external validation and anchors your power in self-mastery. Start practicing this today when faced with criticism or provocation. Resist the urge to defend. Instead, hold your silence or respond with quiet confidence. Watch how your presence shifts the energy around you and how others begin to respect your unshakable calm. If this insight resonates with you, hit the subscribe button, share this message with someone who needs to hear it, and drop a comment sharing your experiences with mastering silence and control. Together, let's build a community of powerful minds who lead through presence, not reaction.